If you are a photographer's photographer, where you make it all about you and your art, AI is likely going to wipe you out, if not today, tomorrow, or certainly within a year or so. So the great thing about the Difference Maker revolution, when we saw what AI was doing, we saw it as an opportunity because difference maker photographers, it's not solely about their art.
Hey, difference makers, welcome back to the Difference Maker Revolution podcast. And today we have Stefano Saporito in Melbourne, Australia, and we have Ronan Ryle in Ireland.
And the soprano, Jono Ryle. Soprano, unreal.
So Steve, this week we're going to whip Ronan, right?
Yeah, we're going to whip Ronan because he's been creating some waves with our members the last 5 weeks. You're on you finished week 5. Is next week the last week, Ronan, of this course?
Yep, week 6. Yes, week 6.
So fill us in. What have you been up to? What have we been excluded from, Ronan?
Yeah, nobody has been excluded. You're all very welcome. But like all great businesses, we by splitting stuff up, we get more done, right? And so this was something that was close to Janine's heart and was close to what I was seeing happening. I listen to a lot of futurists. I watch a lot of what's happening, and the whole AI area has just excited me because it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And the great Mike Michalowicz, I remember him, I can't remember which book it was, but he talked about, don't try and create your own wave, ride someone else's wave. And for me, AI is a wave of opportunity. It's also, if you don't ride that wave, you're likely to drown. So we want to make sure that the Difference Maker Revolution members get first mover advantage from this. First mover being advantage is, it tends to be the businesses that move first gain the most. Not always, but in the majority of cases, that's the case. There are the odd exception to every rule, right? So we set about, and the beauty about working with Janine on this is, as we all know, Janine has her own studio. So she's a working studio, right? With 3 or 4 employees. I can't remember. Is it 3 employees she has? Yeah, 3 in the studio. And then she has her full-time, what do they call them? Who does all the...
Digital artist. Digital artist.
That's it. That's the technical term, a digital artist in her business. So what was really cool was, as we developed out this course, we were able to implement as we went in Janine's business. Because we always like in the Difference Maker Revolution not to say this is what you need to do, but we've done it and proven it works. So that's really, really a core thing of what we do across the Difference Maker Revolution. So it's been really exciting just to see where it's going, because you see a lot, Steve and Jonathan, you guys see it in every group, what's AI going to do to the photography industry, And if you are a photographer's photographer, where you make it all about you and your art, AI is likely going to wipe you out, if not today, tomorrow, or certainly within a year or so. So the great thing about the Difference Maker Revolution, when we saw what AI was doing, we saw it as an opportunity because difference maker photographers, it's not solely about their art. It's about the client transformation. It's about letting clients discover a new thing about themselves or their family or their relationships, or rediscover something that they've lost, or whatever that might be. And this just amplifies the opportunity for that.
See what you did, Steve? 1 second question, and you'll speak for Ireland. That's all you have to do. That's the first point I want to get in. The second point is just to paint a visual here for you. If you imagine that you're standing on a sandy beach and you look out to sea, and when you look out to sea, you see a mega tsunami, and that mega tsunami is called AI. And if you're the photographer who's focused on the quality of your work and being an artist and being a photographer's photographer, and you're looking at that mega tsunami is going to kill you, while all the difference makers are on a surfboard riding the top of that tsunami, looking down, watching you drown. Sorry, I just had to get that visual in. Now I'm going to dream about tsunamis again.
There's no way they'd be watching you drown. They do their best to save you because they're difference makers, but it's really hard when you're riding a tsunami wave to do that. But they would certainly try, John.
Absolutely. So, tell us what's all this hype about AI and the marketing thing and the 6-week thing, and I heard it's been very, very boring, right?
Yeah, it's extremely boring. It's really boring for those who don't want to create a successful, sustainable business. But those who do want to do that and create a sustainable, successful business, it's the most exciting thing that has been around a long time. Because I take you back to the time when social media came about and Facebook marketing and all that stuff, right? That the early movers on that, gained the most. And what's happening now, Stephen Jonathan, is that people are starting to ask ChatGPT or Grok or Claude or Perplexity or whatever AI they're using, or if you're like me, every single one of them. They're asking them questions, right? And AI is guiding that. And if you take OpenAI alone, like only a couple of weeks ago, and we're now on the 5th of December, so a few weeks ago, they announced that they're launching business within ChatGPT. So what does that mean? It means that a consumer who's asking AI for something, they'll be able to complete the transaction and the purchase without ever leaving the platform. So that's already there. And if you think about what's coming next, so when Facebook was out first, Jonathan, right, you got so much organic search for free, right? At the moment, you're getting a whole lot of information for free from OpenAI. And I know there's subscription models, right, where you might pay them a few quid, but it's still costing them more to deliver that. So they have to find a way to monetize it in the same way as Facebook did. So when Facebook first launched, it was about building the amount of users. And OpenAI are doing exactly the same. I think they're at 800 million users now, right? So the rumor is that Open in the very near future, whether that's a week, a month, or a little bit longer than that, are going to be launching paid advertising within the OpenAI platform. So if we take a Google analogy, everyone is familiar with SEO, right? So when somebody searches on Google, we want to be in that first page, those first 3 rankings. But companies manage to get there too by paying for Google AdWords, right? So you often see the sponsored ones that are ahead of those, and then there's the top 3, because very few people, I can't remember the exact percentage now, but a tiny percentage actually go to page 2. If you think about when you're on Google, how often have you pressed page 2 to see the next set of rankings, right? Never. So if you take the idea of what we're teaching you how AI can find and recommend you when someone is having a conversation with them about, I have this problem, help me solve it, right? Because that's how most things start with, is people are aware they have a need or a problem and are looking for a solution as to how to solve it.
And I have never seen the community so alight, so on fire, so excited, so engaged as it is now. I was only using my Jono joke at the start.
But I think, Jonathan, the reason for that a little bit is that, we're firm believers, or, I've been talking with this for a long time, and I know Steve is the expert at helping a client discover their why, right? Before that, for me, is that if you don't know yourself, you can never know your client. And part of knowing yourself is what's your purpose, what's your why, and Simon Sinek is the leader in this area. Steve in the past has trained with Tony Robbins, both online and in person. I've trained with Simon Sinek, never in person, would love to do it in person, but I've done it online, and I've learned to help people discover their why using Simon Sinek's methodology. And I've done this with some of our members in person. It's a time-consuming thing, Jonathan, is that, it can take 3 or 4 hours of your time as the person who's helping a person discover their purpose and their why. And the challenge with that is it's not scalable, right? It's just not scalable. So part of what we've been doing, Jonathan, is not just creating a training course on this. We've built AI tools. So it's nearly like a done with you. So we've built AI tools, if you imagine them as virtual coaches, right, who are trained with the knowledge of Steve and Jonathan and Janine and myself. and are working with our members, right, to not only create their brand foundation, of which their why and their purpose is a central part of that, but to take that then and use it to use Steve's framework for discovering who your ideal client avatars are, right? Using the Brown Foundation as a foundation to that. And then taking those two, so now I've got my brand foundation, right? I know my purpose and who I want to serve and how I want to serve them and all that. And I know who my ideal client avatars are, right? But even if we start with one avatar, just for the sake of this, we can then take those as the foundation and we can create our marketing content on top of that. And we've developed, Jonathan, all the tools, all the AI. They're not training tools. They're done with you service. The best way to describe it, Jonathan, and I can't remember who it was many decades ago. Someone said to me, Ronan, when you're thinking about strategy and you're thinking about what people want, often people think that a person wants a drill, but they don't want a drill. They want a hole in the wall. And if you think about the fact that they don't want a drill, they actually want the end result, which is a hole in the wall. Photography businesses want the end result of the success, not what they need to do to get there. And for us, AI is revolutionizing the ability for us to deliver done with you service at scale at an investment level that is just a no-brainer for everybody.
So really what we're delivering is quality clients, because now people are understanding what they're looking for, who they're looking for. And so what you're saying is you've got your avatars, you've got your why, you understand what that is, and then the AI is going to produce that verbiage for your ads and for your website to attract those people that you want to attract.
Absolutely, and not just for your website, for your blogs, for your social media posts, for your Facebook adverts that are going to convert because they're talking to your ideal client. Because we've talked about this for a long, long, long time, right? You've been talking about it for decades, Steve. I've been talking about this since before I met you too, in terms of your foundation, your foundation to your business. If you have a foundation of sand and you build a house on it, it's going to fall, right? It's not going to be there. And for us in business, knowing your purpose and your why, knowing who you want to serve and what they want, right? What they secretly want from their experience, and knowing then you combine that with the business metrics, right? And once you've got those and you know where you want to bring your business, that's the foundation. On top of that, then everything else is built. But often people start with the roof. Oh, I need help with my pricing. Yeah, okay, so who do you want to serve? Why do you want to serve them? And they go, what do you mean? I said, well, how can you create a price for something if you don't know that information? And I think why a lot of people don't do it is, one, you don't know what you don't know, right? But then two is there's not many people or businesses or companies like the Difference Maker Revolution who understand that this is what's needed, and we've put all the systems in place to help you with your pricing and to help you with your design consultations and to help you with all of that part of your business. But you really need to start here. And we've been talking about this for a long time, but now we've got a system and a tool and a done with you service that can fast track that for everybody.
Joe, what's interesting, it just popped into my head there as well, is that, the majority of photographers out there are solopreneurs, or they might work with their partner, right? The vast majority. And when you speak to these people, they say that they want to be photographers, like they just want to take photos. But the reality is, for them to actually run a photography business that's, makes money, they have to spend like 95% of their time not taking photos, like doing all the marketing, doing all the sales, doing all the calls, doing the ordering, doing whatever else, right? The beauty about this is it gives them back that time, right? Because of the done for you with you tools.
Now, I missed last week because, it was only yesterday that you did it, so I haven't watched the replay yet. Were you demonstrating that last bit where AI was producing the blog posts and all that sort of thing? And I know Janine's been testing it.
We did that a couple of weeks ago. So last night we were demonstrating the tool that guides the photographer to build their FAQs. And I'm sure people are saying, what do you mean your FAQs? So FAQ is frequently asked questions, right? And I'm sure many of you listening may have FAQs on your website, but I guarantee that 99 out of 100 of them aren't built for AI to know who you are. Because here's the difference, right? Is that SEO is different to LLO, which is what's required for AI to understand what you're about. So if you think about, so those of you who are listening, just think about the last time you used ChatGPT, and hopefully many of you have used it at this stage, right? It's a conversation, right? It's conversational. And most of the tactics around SEO are about persuading an algorithm that to recommend you, right? So if you're not paying Google Ads to present you there, you're relying on SEO for them to recommend you for whatever reason. But it's all around an algorithm. And I'm not saying that AI is not an algorithm, but it's more than that. It's more sophisticated than that, in that they're building it to be conversational like humans, right? That's what they're doing. So if I am a conversational person, right? So if you imagine me as an AI now, and I'm more human than what's needed for SEO, right? And I'm conversational, well, then your FAQs have to be conversational. But here's the key thing. They have to be conversational and relevant to the needs of the person that's having the conversation with the AI. So if you don't know who your ideal client avatar is, and all your FAQs are about, you need to wear solid colors, you need to do this, right? That is not going to come up in a conversation with a person who has a need and is going to suggest you as a possible solution. So we were talking about this last night in the call with some members, and there was a number of members who are boudoir photographers. And they were saying, do I really have to do this? Like, I'm doing my paid ads and, on Facebook. And when I run my ads, really Google doesn't work for me because very few people search for boudoir. So, they're unaware as to what a boudoir experience can do for them. So let's just take an example of an avatar who wants to rediscover confidence that they've lost, right? Just an example. So like the member was saying, like, I have to put adverts out there to make them aware that a boudoir experience is a solution to gaining confidence, right? I said, that's exactly what I'm talking about with AI, is that there will be people who will be having a conversation with ChatGPT or whatever AI they're using, and they'll be saying, do you know what? I just don't feel really confident right now. What could I do? Right? So not even looking for photography, right? But if you have done this correctly and somebody searches for that, you're increasing significantly the opportunity where the AI is going to recommend, have you thought about a confidence building boudoir experience? But they need to know that you are the solution for that, and that therefore everything that you produce on your website and your FAQs have to be conversational and about that, not that you are a boudoir photographer. Because if you just say I'm a boudoir photographer, the AI doesn't know that part of your experience is about helping a person who has lost their confidence to rediscover that confidence, if that's who one of your client avatars are.
Do you know, I've stopped using Google to look for things and to work out which is the right thing for me. And I find now through this conversational way of research that I'm buying with a lot more trust. Like for me personally, I feel like I can get to the right decision a lot quicker, but I also feel like I've made the right decision and I'm not second guessing whether I've made the right decision. And that's from a consumer point of view. When I'm looking for something, I feel like I've got the right solution in front of me when AI makes that suggestion for me, because I can query it and I can ask the questions and it leads me to that. I'm not second guessing. I'm making decisions a lot quicker. So I think what you're saying, to allow the AI to understand your business and to understand the types of clients you're looking for, the type of service you're giving, really, we're going to see, I think, not a higher quality person, because I don't think it'll produce a higher quality, but people who are now inquiring are going to come to us with a higher level of trust.
I agree. And I think, the holy grail of anybody that we've coached and have been in the different maker revolution is, and you see it in all the forums too, I just want quality bookings. I just want quality inquiries or leads, right? And as we know, Steve, as you've told us all, great clients are made, not found. But I do think that this AI conversation, as you say, is building the trust. I think the end result of that will be that you'll get a higher quality inquiry because they'll be more educated and they've had a conversation with information that they now trust. But you have to set your business, you have to set up your website, you have to set up everything for the AI to understand who you serve. And here's a key thing that a lot of people don't realize, right? Unlike a Google search where you have a 5-star review or a 4-star review, right? AI won't necessarily trust that straight off. It'll actually look for proof that what you're saying is true. So that's and that's where the trust thing comes from too, Steve, is that the OpenAI or Grok or any of these AIs, the builders of this are making sure that it can be trusted. Right? Because you're saying I tend to trust them more, but that's not a fluke. That's by design. So the builders of the AI systems are working really hard that what they present is true, is accurate. And that's what we've got to create our businesses now to be able to be for that. And this is new, right? This is just starting, right? But I would suggest that within a couple of years, it'll be how so much marketing is done. It'll be by how so much inquiries will come into you. It's just going to change everything. And I'm not saying that what you're currently doing, it's not a waste. Like everything you've done in SEO will actually help with this too. You just have to build on top of that. It's not going to replace Facebook either. It's, you need multiple streams of marketing that we talk about all the time. But this is an exciting one, and the first movers will get the most from it. And we're the first movers in this industry, in this space. Because all the AI talk I see, it's all about image manipulation and retouching and all that stuff, which is important too, right? Because that frees up time where you can be more client facing. But we are the leaders in our industry, in this whole space, in the whole marketing and business side.
So what has been some of the reactions from our members? Because you're there delivering this every week.
Yeah, so it's too early to actually show the results of it, right? However, some of our members are already seeing the result of it, right? So let me give you a couple of examples of that. One example of this is one of our members has said that their inquiries are starting to use the language they were using, right? Now, you can say that, well, what's the result of that? What I mean by that is when their clients are talking to them or inquiring with them, they're using the language that the photographer, the difference maker photographer was using in their marketing, right? Because as Jonathan will tell you, even with a Facebook ad, and you work the Facebook ad to attract a certain client, often people just fill it out and they don't read all the content. But if you compare that to somebody on AI where they're having a conversation, they're asking questions of the AI and getting answers to whatever questions that they have. So when you can educate the AI with answers that are going to allow the AI answer the questions of the person, well, then that AI is going to recommend you. So that's one thing. So we're seeing that. So we're seeing feedback where they're saying we're now getting inquiries where they're using our language, which never happened before. And we're getting, one of our members uses a software called Hotjar to track. It tracks not only the buttons people press and what order on their website, but it also tells you where the source was from. And she's already getting inquiries from our website that she can trace back to ChatGPT. And this is really early, right? We're only at this a couple of weeks. And it's really early for people, even the consumer, to be used to buying or taking a recommendation within ChatGPT to buy stuff, right? Or most people are using it for other things, right? But now they're starting to use it. And we're really only starting. Like we're Well, not even 1% of the users, like ChatGPT, haven't even launched the business piece yet, right? It's just about to be launched. So it's really exciting. It's really exciting. And our members are excited. But I also think they're excited, Steve, because they're starting to, if you take all these pieces of jigsaw, right, and they're not quite all connected, it seems to all the work we've done with them, they seem to be now the piece of jigsaw are all clicking together for them. You know, the final click. They were nearly there, but this is just clicking the final pieces together for them from everything we've worked with them on what they need to do. They have to be client focused, understand who their client is, understand their why, understand their purpose, and use that as the foundation. So they've been doing the training within the Difference Maker Revolution around all these areas, but they're done with you. It's, you know, they're getting the hole in the wall without the drill, you know.
So it's the tools. The tools of getting those pieces together for them, creating that possibility for them. That's unreal.
It's the implementation too, because like the reality is people don't want more information. They don't want coaching. They don't want whatever. They want, as Ronan said, the hole in the wall. They want it done. They want implementation, because implementation equals results. So it's bringing that.
Exciting. So where do they find out more, Jono?
Oh my gosh, to find out more, all you need to do is click the button below and fill out a short form, have a conversation with us, and we will, if we feel like we can help you, invite you into the inner circle where you can access all these done with you tools and be one of the first movers. So get on it.
We'll see you on the inside.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.